Hi everyone, Diana Rankin here with your weekly soul messages and perhaps a prediction or two. This is the 42nd week of 2019. It is for October 13th to the 19th, I believe. We do have a couple of questions here, actually three, two from one viewer and one from another, and I've combined them, so Philip will give us our answer on that. We will, of course, get an answer from Philip's book, which is The Master's Book of Answers by Philip, one of my books. It is available on Amazon.com or through my website, which will take you right back to Amazon.com. And what it is an oracle book, and on each page is a different wisdom. So we will get a message from Philip today. One of the welcome everybody, by the way. Thank you. I'm sorry I forgot to say that. I do love your comments. I love hearing from you. And forgive me, it takes me a while to get back to answering those comments, but I get to read them ahead of time, so thank you. Please send me your questions. You can put them in the comments, or you can email me directly, or if we're on Facebook and we're friends, you can message me. If we're on Twitter, you can send me a message via Twitter. I do ask that you keep the questions general, and by general, what I mean by that is a question that everyone would be interested in. That it has to do with everyone's life, not just your personal life. So if you have personal questions, I do private readings, private sessions. So please, you can contact me through my website, which is below here, or the phone number is on the website. The cost of a session or multiple sessions. If you sign up for 4 sessions, you actually get the 5th one free. So all of that is on the website. The link is below. Just email me, or even better yet, just pick up the phone and call me and we'll get you scheduled. So I want to also remind you another one of my books, Joy, which is the art of living or creating a happy life. And it has 52 different things, stories and different things you can do to make your life happier, to help you have that joy, to get us through these very difficult and troubled times. So what I'm going to do is we have 3 questions. One is about the 5th dimension. What is that shift to the 5th dimension? What is that about? And then we have 2 other questions that I combined. And let me see if I've answered those. If I end up asking Philip that doesn't answer your questions to your satisfaction, please just let me know. Just send the question back in, or if I didn't understand it, go ahead and clarify it. But it was a rather long question, so I kind of cut it into 2 questions and made it a little simpler, if that makes sense. So here are 2 questions. Actually, again, the 3rd question, because we're going to ask about the 5th dimension. But the 2 questions that I narrowed down to make it a little bit easier to understand. The first one is, how can we remember why we've come to Earth? That's a big question. How can we remember why we've come to Earth and that purpose? What is our purpose here? And the other one is, how can we live in a loving kindness? How can we live in loving kindness when we encounter difficult circumstances, people, events in our lives? We're going to really get a lot of practice in that over the next several months. It's going to get a little tougher. Excuse me, I feel a sneeze coming on. We'll see if it manifests or not. I live in the country, and the farmers are cutting the soybean fields around me today, so there's a lot of dust flying around because it's also very windy, and I'm kind of getting it from all sides. So the sneezing has been coming on today. So here are Philip's answer to those 3 questions. Again, how can we remember why we've come to Earth, our soul's mission? And by the way, this is not easy stuff that we're doing. I actually did a year-long workshop on figuring out what your soul mission is, and Gosh, I hope it helped everyone in the workshop. Uh, they all come back and tell me this helped or that helped. And I'm always gratified to hear that. But this is not easy stuff we're doing. I mean, this is difficult stuff to figure out our soul's mission. And then also, how can we live in that loving kindness with such a erratic, difficult world going on, and how tough the processes are right now. So this is what Phillip tells us. And also we bring in that fifth dimension. So Phillip says, because I say to Phillip, after I gave him the question, there's a lot here, but they all feel connected. And he answers, they are connected. This we will see as we go on. To remember the reason you came to this plane, look at your wounding. The answer is here. Look at your wounding. The answer is here. You have chosen to heal a pattern. This may be an ancestral pattern or a pattern that you developed in another life experience. You choose your pattern to heal that which you may have caused harm to, or to take on the healing of an old collective pattern. For example, you may have taken the life of another in a previous life experience. In this life, you love them, but they betray you. This gives you the opportunity to forgive their betrayal and also to forgive yourself. You may not always be able to recognize the specifics of the pattern as clearly as this, as what we just explained. To do so, to really recognize the specifics of the pattern, requires evolving to the fifth dimension, where you can witness your entire life experiences that you're having in the third dimension. Doing so requires the desire and study with intent. Now, for those who have chosen to heal an ancestral or collective pattern, the wound is deep, the pattern old, and the human life may be fraught with difficulty until the person comes to understand their purpose. Your story is an example of the ancestral healing of your ancestry, that of betrayal. And that was a personal message to me. And yes, a lot in my life has been about betrayal, and my ancestor is primarily Scottish, Irish, and Delaware. And there's been a lot of betrayal in that ancestry. Phillip goes on to say, keep in mind, not every member of a family need take on the ancestral healing. So that means you may take it on, but not your sister or your brother or a parent or a cousin. We're all individuals here. Once a person is aware of their wound and the pattern that causes it, they must then take on the healing. Again, Phillip reminds us, this pattern may be from a personal action, ancestral or collective pattern, or both. As the personal patterns are looked at and work on, healing begins. The person may or may not be aware of ancestral and collective healing taking place. To be aware is not necessary until the person is ready to move into the fourth and fifth dimensions. This happens naturally when the individual is ready. To force it is dangerous to the individual and should not be done. It is helpful to work with a teacher who can safely guide. To heal the wound and change the pattern is the sacred journey of all who come to earth. As one heals, the pattern alters for all. Phillip goes on to say this is important and bears repeating. As one heals their wound, the pattern alters for all. This includes all humans who have lived on earth and those who are yet to come. The healing of the wound is simple and yet quite hard for humans to grasp. It's choosing love over fear. For example, when one is hurt and angered by betrayal, it is necessary to work through these emotions to where love is present. It is simply remembering there is a choice and choosing that which is love over fear, anger, retribution, and so on. Your world is in a difficult period of transformation. It is the perfect and yet difficult time for each human to recognize the wound and work toward healing that pattern by simply choosing to act and react in a loving manner when faced with fear, anger, impatience, and so on are triggered. Thank you, Philip. So, my friends, when we are triggered, we want to look at that. When we feel that fear, that anger, we want to look at that. And you may hear one of my kitties talking to us. She's actually playing with Daisy. They're out in the hallway playing here, and I can hear them. So you may hear her also. But when when anything other than love is triggered within us, it gives us that opportunity to look and say, what is this pattern in my life? What does this have to do with me? If we want to look at our whole life, that's when we're moving into the fourth dimension. And we can say, for example, I'll use my own life. Our family, my mother and brother and I, were abandoned by my father when I was about 2 years old. And it took me years to really understand what that abandonment was about. But what I really came to understand was my father was the sperm donor to have the ancestry that I had. And then I got to figure out, why do I have that specific ancestry? And then I realized I'm healing an old ancestral pattern of betrayal. So that's how we work through the fourth dimension. And as we move into that healing of the ancestral pattern, as we're called to do that, then we'll see multiple life experiences that we've had. And that's how we just move into the fifth dimension. It really happens rather naturally, but it also happens, as I've told you, I've worked with multiple teachers who have influenced my life. And I also work with friends who are coaches, and we trade back and forth, or intuitives or psychics. And so we do trade and we help each other. So this is what our life is. If you're listening to this, there's a real good chance that you're ready to recognize, if you haven't already, the wound that is the pattern of your life. And as you start recognizing how that pattern has played out in your life, you automatically start moving into the fourth dimension. It doesn't mean a lot out here is going to change. It doesn't mean that the wildfires in California are going to stop, and certainly we want to hold all of our friends there in prayer and reach out to them. It doesn't mean that our administration, the current administration, will stop the harm that it's causing, not only to our world, to our country, but to other people in other countries. And so our hearts go out to the Kurdish people who were, and maybe again will be, our allies. Let's get a message from Phillip, shall we? Remember, as we heal our lives, we help to heal the world. And right now it doesn't feel like we're very powerful, but we are. We are. We don't always know the bigger story. Think left page, right page, and I always read both sides, because the general message for all of us will be left page or right page. The opposite page may be a personal message for you as well. So what we do is we just opened any page, or we flip through like that, and there we go. I'm hearing right page for our message, but the left page, again, maybe a personal message for you as well. All right. And, you would think after all these years, I wouldn't be amazed that whatever it is we've talked about, that's the message that we just randomly pick out of this book has great meaning. And here's our message. Does not each thought share the attributes of its creator? Does not each thought share the attributes of its creator? Oh, my friends, every thought, every action, every deed that you have, that you do, that you think, has an impact on our world, not on our personal world, certainly, but also on the greater world. We forget love is behavior. It's not just an emotion. It's our acts. It's our behavior. So keep in mind, does not each thought share the attributes of its creator? Make your thoughts loving ones. Be a loving creator. Be a creator of kindness in the world. Be a creator of, as I said last week, I have to put the book down for a minute. As I said last week, we can either say stop or we can say stop. Let's say stop. That has more power. On the left side, it says, death is not the end of conflict, but the victory of conflict. Death is not the end of conflict, but the victory of conflict. I'll just leave that one right there. I thank you for being with me again. I thank you for your comments. I thank you for your love, because it sustains me. It keeps me, those comments, that love you send Daisy and the rest of us here, two-legged and four-legged ones, I am so grateful for. It keeps me coming back and doing this every week, because believe me, the electronics of doing this, talking to you is the easy part. Standing in front of a group is that's easier than doing this, actually. And the electronics of it, I try not to. I get lessons in patience and gifts of let's not get frustrated. So I thank you for being here. I love you. It's every breath, every step we take toward love. Every step, every breath. This is not easy work we're doing. But there will be a tipping point where love prevails. I love you.